Okay, we gonna run this shit.
Dragon Ball Sparking Zero was one of the biggest games of 2024, and whilst its initial release was met with a lot of praise, as time's gone on, it's kind of gotten a bit of a negative reputation, not only because of a genuine lack of support behind the developers, but also because the community has honestly fallen off for it. The player base has dwindled, and just as a whole, nobody's really playing the game anymore. And it sucks because I think that as a whole, there's a lot of stuff here. Like, this is a genuinely really good game. It's just that it lacks a lot of features that were in prior installments in the Dragon Ball video game catalog. And on top of that, I think one of the biggest issues with the game, something that was not prevalent in too many other games prior, is the character roster. Because the way this game was advertised was, it was like this big, it was meant to be like the definitive Dragon Ball game. The way it was advertised was there was like character reveals all throughout the coming months until the game actually came out. You know, like we would see a new character, a new set of characters, they would get like unveiled, and then it would raise their hype up for the game's release. But looking back at it now, it's honestly really sad because whilst it seemed like, you know, that 180 plus characters, that seemed like a gigantic number, especially for a fighting game. When you actually sit down and play the game, you begin to realize that a large portion of those are transformations or other forms of the same character, and characters that were present in games prior are not here at all. So something I wanted to do was give like a wish list of sorts for what I want to see in like future DLCs or anything of that sort, or like free updates or something like that, because there's a lot of stuff that is missing that really should have been in the game already. And we've already, as of the time I'm recording this, we have 2 DLCs out right now, the Hero of Justice pack and the Daima DLC. Both were actually really good, I'm not gonna lie. One was based off of the superhero movie, and the other one was most of the major characters from Daima. There's a few that weren't there, but I'm sure they'll be added later on. But I will say there is a lot of characters that should have been in the game that were missing. And that's what we're gonna talk about now. So going in no particular order, we're gonna start with the characters from Z, which I feel like of all the Dragon Ball series is definitely the one that's covered the most in this game. There really isn't too many characters that are missing. I think that more outfits and costumes for a lot of the human fighters would have been appreciated, like giving Tien his outfit from the Cell games, or the white beater, or giving Yamcha more than just the one hairstyle, or something like that. But in terms of characters that weren't included, we have Yamu, and actually several of Babidi's henchmen that didn't appear in the game. There was Yakon, and there was Pui Pui. Now, I understand that Pui Pui is in the game, his model's in the game, he's in one of Babidi's special attacks. I think that one of the reasons that certain characters weren't included is because simply they don't really have movesets for them because they don't appear that much in the show. They have Spopovich in the game, and he was only in one fight in the series, and to be fair, Yamu wasn't in a fight, but Yakon and Pui Pui were both in fights, and they're not in the game. But yeah, as a whole, I think Z got the best treatment out of all of the series, all the Dragon Ball series. Now, the one I think got the worst treatment was OG Dragon Ball, which just so happens to be my favorite series, so you know, that's really, really fucking nice. As far as an OG Dragon Ball DLC would look like, it would probably be a Tenkaichi Budokai one, because there are a ton of characters they can pull from there. Namu, Ranfan, Jiran, no, not that one, the other one, Manwolf, Pamput, Bacterion. There's so many characters from the Tenkaichi Budokais that they could pull from that they just simply didn't use, and it's honestly strange because they could have filled up a ton of character slots with just them, but they didn't do that. Putting in like actual characters that, you know, people would want to see in the game. Grandpa Gohan's not in the game, and he was in Budokai Tenkaichi. He was in the second one and the third one. as far as villains are concerned, there's no Tao Pai Pai, which that is fucking insane. No other Red Ribbon Army characters outside of the androids either. No Android 8. Probably the strangest one to me, no Piccolo Daimao. In fact, none of the Demon Clan members are here. No tambourine, no cymbal, no piano. None of them are here. And that's fucking insane because King Piccolo was probably the first big bad in Dragon Ball. And the fact that he's not in this game is absolutely insane to me. Especially considering the fact that there was a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC that had him in it. And that was all about the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. Yet it covered parts of the King Piccolo saga in it. I mean, it was only the end of it, but King Piccolo was still there, so it shows that Bandai Namco still somewhat cares about original Dragon Ball and will still represent it from time to time. But clearly they just didn't care enough to like put the characters in the fucking game. And then past that, Chi-Chi. And that's not even mentioning other characters that were also in the Budokai Tenkaichi games. No Devilman, not Grandpa Gohan, then at least him of all characters. Or fuck, Arale from Dr. Slump. She could have been in this game and she just wasn't. We could have gotten Kid Krillin in the game. That would have probably been a really easy character to design, and it would have given Krillin another character slot, but no, they're not in the game. But yeah, a pitiful showing for original Dragon Ball. They could fill at least 3 DLCs up with the amount of characters they didn't include in this game. There's also Dragon Ball GT. Well, actually, you know what? Before we talk about that, let's talk about the movies real quick, because there's a plethora of characters that they could have included in this. They could fill up a ton of DLCs with the amount of characters they didn't include from the movies. I mean, just thinking off of like the villains, like special teams or whatever. There's the Garlic Jr. henchmen. There's 2 sets of them. There's the Bio Warriors from the World's Strongest. There's the Crusher Corps from Tree of Might. There's Lord Slug's henchmen. Cooler's Armored Squadron. Androids 14 and 15. Paragus, which that was crazy to me. No Paragus, not old or young. Hatchiat. Hatchiat could have been in this game. He was in Raging Blast too. Bojack's henchman. No Bio Broly, which, I mean, I'm not really upset about that. I mean, who the fuck would be? There's also some characters from like the original Dragon Ball movies, along with like a ton of outfits from those movies as well. Oh yeah, Dragon Ball GT. Well, funny enough, Dragon Ball GT, I actually think, is fairly well represented. I know there's like other characters that were not in the game that a lot of GT fans wanted to see. Ice Shenron and Nuova Shenron. Super Android 17. Super 17 not being in this game, I know, like him, King Piccolo, and there's like one other character. A lot of fans were complaining about them not being in the game because, you know, they were in the older games. Because they have Baby in the game, multiple forms of Baby, which actually, they're missing a form of Baby that's not in the game already. And there's also Omega Shenron as well. He's in the game too. So they had at least 2 of the 3 major villains from GT, and they didn't have Super 17, which, a little weird, but I'm assuming that he'll be added in some future DLC. Now, do I think that GT will get its own DLC? Not really. I just don't think there's enough other characters in GT to warrant that. Maybe base GT Vegeta, some of those like robot enemies, or General Rildo. But as a whole, I do not see a GT DLC coming at any point. I think they might be added with the free update, or they might be thrown into another DLC, which, by the way, speaking of characters that I could see getting their own like mini DLC, Bardock's Squadron. Where the fuck are they? Something I know for a fact is probably going to happen is we are going to get DLC for Super, which, fine by me. I mean, I don't really like Super. I'll talk about that in a future video, but there's enough characters that they didn't include from Super to fill up multiple DLC. It's insane. The number of characters from the Tournament of Power, I don't think they'll ever put all of them in this game, because a lot of them, they don't really get that many fights, and there's not a whole lot of like attacks for a lot of them. they don't really have like substantial movesets or anything like that. So I don't expect to see them in any future DLCs, but there's a few, like, the characters from the Universe 6 tournament, or, fuck, they could probably do a Universe 6 DLC, like a mini one with the other Universe 6 fighters. But I think as a whole, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero's roster isn't bad, it's just there are some really baffling exclusions from the game. So many characters that were in other games that just aren't in this game. I understand development cycles and all that sort of thing kind of heavily affect what characters appear in the game. But seeing as there's not like a licensing thing, seeing as the people developing this game are literally the people who make the fucking show, it's just so weird that they couldn't find the time or the effort to maybe include these characters in the game. But for the most part, I'd say maybe 40% of the characters I actually listed will be included in this game at some point in time. But as it still stands, this is just an overall very disappointing roster. So many exclusions, so many great characters that could have been in the game that just aren't. The cosmetic system is fucking trash, and yeah, I got a lightsaber now, you know. So like, if y'all want me to do some Star Wars videos,